Chapter 23:14. In the original work, the colorless king provoked the two kings to fight, hoping that they would both be injured. Then, he would have a chance to make his move. However, due to Dustless's interference, some of the colorless king's plans had failed, so he could only use other schemes. Although the king of colorless strength was average and he was the weakest among the kings, he was smart. Even though Dustless had exposed his scheme, he quickly found another plan, which was to capture Dan Shirley alive and threaten the king of blue to kill Cho-Mana. If he didn't do so, he would kill the hostage. Danishima Shirley was the right-hand man of the king of blue, and he couldn't afford to lose him. However, Semoyne Anna was also the king of red's favorite, and he couldn't afford to lose her. Once the Ancestral Rights Division killed Semoyne Anna, both sides would fight to the death. One of them had to disappear from the world. Crack! The Ancestral Rights Division crushed the phone, and his elegant face turned ferocious. Damn colorless king, you better not fall into my hands. If I catch you, I will make you regret living in this world, regret being a king, and regret threatening my Ancestral Rights Division. The Ancestral Rights Division was like a furious lion. His hair stood on end, and his body emitted destructive waves. The surrounding windows were shattered, and even Fujian Yubigu, who was caught off guard, was sent flying. Leader, what should we do? Fujian Yubigu struggled to get up. His eyes were flickering, and he seemed to be in a dilemma. The colorless king's actions were to force the Ancestral Rights Division and Zhou Fangzuan to go to war. You can leave first, let me think. The Ancestral Right Division sucked in a breath of cold air. They were also at a loss. There was no shortcut to this situation. If they didn't kill Hane Mana, then Tadajima Shiri would definitely die. If they didn't do anything, then Tadajima Shiri would be killed. No matter what, this was a dead end. No wonder the Ancestral Rights Division was in such a dilemma. Fujian, after about an hour, the Ancestral Rights Division finally spoke. Bring everyone to Fei Wuluo's territory. Zhou Fangzuan and the Ancestral Rights Division were about to go to war. On the other hand, Dustless was still lazy. Because it was the weekend, he even brought his cat to the beach for a vacation. Life was as pleasant as it could get. Hey, hey, hey. Dustless, hurry up and help me apply sunscreen. I don't want to get tanned. The cat looked at Dustless, who was lying down comfortably, and suddenly said. Looking up, the cat was wearing a pink swimsuit. Her nosebleed figure was extremely eye-catching, especially her cleavage, which swayed as she walked, as if it could burst her swimsuit at any time. However, no one appreciated this fanciful scene. Dustless was lying there calmly, as if he had fallen asleep. He did not look at the cat at all. He said calmly, "Do you know who the first king was?" "Of course I do. Don't underestimate me." The cat tilted her head and answered without hesitation. "It's the Silver King, Adolf K. Weitzman, that white-haired gigolo." Gigolo. Upon hearing this, Dustless's mouth twitched. He had always called the Silver King a gigolo. Unknowingly, he had led the cat astray. It's indeed him. Dustless nodded and smiled mysteriously. He's the origin of kings, the first king in the world. He's also the first to obtain the king's power. Then, do you know where the king's power comes from? I don't know. The cat was confused. It's not strange that you don't know. After all, this kind of thing involves a lot of secrets. The more you know, the more troublesome it will be. Isn't there a saying that the more you know, the faster you'll die? Dustless said with a chuckle. It was this sentence that scared the cat so much that her expression changed. Then you'd better not tell me. I don't want to die. I still want to eat a lot of good food. The cat's face was filled with fear, as if she was really scared. You're really ******up. Sometimes I really don't understand. You're not afraid of me at all, but you're so scared of those stupid things. Is my deterrence less than their king's? Wu Chen was extremely speechless and ridiculed. There were a million alpacas galloping in his heart. Was he too weak? What was a king? Because you won't hurt me. Blinking her eyes, the cat looked at Dustless seriously. You little girl, Dustless rubbed the cat's head. She immediately lay in his arms obediently. Dustless didn't reject this. He stroked her hair gently and explained, the king's power comes from the Drexten stone plate. This is the source of all the king's power, a Drexten stone plate. Hearing this, the cat was stunned. She stared at Dustless with her mouth wide open. She didn't expect the king's power to come from an ordinary-looking Drexten stone plate. It sounded like a fairy tale. Are you surprised? Dustless looked at the doubtful cat and said, it's not just the king's power. Your power, and even the power of all outsiders, comes from that Drexten stone plate. There's actually such a miraculous thing in this world. The cat's expression was shocked. It was unbelievable that a Drexten stone plate could have such power. There are all kinds of strange things in this world. This is nothing. I've seen things that are even more heaven-defying than the Drexten stone plate. Dustless calmly replied. In these thousands of years, he had seen all kinds of unimaginable things. Don't think that the King of Colorless is playing like a fish in water now. Once my patience runs out, he'll be finished. The easiest way is to destroy the Drexten stone plate. That way, all the king's power will disappear. Let's see how he can continue to show off then. Dustless sneered. It was too easy to deal with the King of Colorless. This was only one of many methods. There were actually many similar methods. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:16. However, this method was too thorough. All the kings and the powers of those outside their authority would disappear. In other words, even Cat would not be able to escape this fate. Staring at the girl with different expressions, Dustless finally shook his head. He couldn't bear to take away Cat's power. After all, there were too many ways to kill the colorless king. It's good that you can deal with him. This way, I won't have to worry. Cat's pretty face bloomed with a charming smile as she rubbed against Dustless's chest. You little girl, you're not taking advantage of me, are you? Sensing the abnormality in his body, Dustless scratched her nose in annoyance. His face revealed a deeply conflicted expression, as if he had suffered a great loss. Of course not. Cat's pretty face instantly filled with a sickly blush as she hurriedly curled into a ball. Dustless could even feel her heartbeat accelerating. You're still denying it. I heard it all. Ding ding, at this delicate moment, Dustless's phone suddenly rang. The number was extremely strange. It was actually Zhou Fangzuan's underling, Hatamiko. This kid is actually looking for me. How rare. Dustless's expression was indescribably strange. He couldn't help but look at the sun. It didn't seem to be coming out from the north. Something bad has happened. Mr. Zun and the people in blue are fighting. Hatamiko's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. He could also hear rumbling sounds. Even though he wasn't there, Dustless could guess that an intense battle was going on. They're fighting. Dustless frowned deeply, rather puzzled. These two didn't seem to have any direct grudges. Although the two kings' organizations had deep grudges and often fought with each other, the direct conflicts between Zhou Fangzuan and the Ancestral Right Department could be counted on one hand. Let's go take a look. Looking down, Silver decided to end his vacation for the time being and rush over to take a look himself. At this moment, Fu Wuluo's territory had long been reduced to ruins. Charred buildings could be seen everywhere, and the air was filled with an unbearable foreign smell. Damn it, monkey, what do you mean by wearing blue clothes? At a glance, the members of Fey Wuluwa and the clan of the King of Black were engaged in a battle. They were completely serious, and some of them even had white knives entering and red knives exiting. What do you mean? I haven't seen you for a few days and your IQ is getting lower and lower, Mimi. Fujiwara Arubiga smiled sinisterly, and then slashed his sword at Hatamiko. Of course, it's to destroy you Wuluwa bastards. Clang! As the sword fell, sparks flew in all directions, and Fujian's arm went numb from the shock. Why are you here? The moment he looked up, Fujiki-Yaku's eyes froze. The person standing in front of him was neither Hatamiko nor Zhou Fangzuan. It had nothing to do with the members of Vega Wolo. This is a grudge between us and the Red King's clan. It has nothing to do with you. Get out of the way. Fu Jian looked at the young man who was causing trouble with an unfriendly expression. This person actually used 2 fingers to catch his full-strength attack. Even if he used all the strength in his body, he still couldn't pull out the sword that was caught between his fingers. You dare to talk to me like that? Dustless's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery, and he laughed. It seems that you have become stronger. Boom. 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 On the other side, Zhou Fangzuan and Zhongxiang Rites were engaged in a fierce battle. Their auras broke through the vast sky, and brilliant crimson and blue collided with each other. However, it was obvious that Zhou Fangzuan was at a disadvantage because he had been injured according to Dustless's plan. His strength was not as good as Zhongxiang Rites for the time being. After all, Zhou Fangzuan was still injured. Tell me, why do you want to go to war with the King of Red's clan? Wu Chen looked into Fu Jian's eyes and questioned. He was not angry. Why should I tell you? Who do you think you are? Fujiki-Yaku asked angrily. He was very unhappy with Dustless. Who does this guy think he is? How dare he speak to me in such a commanding tone? Oh, you have a bad temper. Dustless suddenly narrowed his eyes, radiating a dangerous light. Don't force me to do it. I will force you to do it. It would have been better if Dustless had not said that. The moment his voice fell, Fujiki-Yaku was immediately angered. Perhaps in his opinion, Dustless's words were naked humiliation and contempt. Do I need to be beaten up? Seeing Fujiki-Yaku's ferocious face, Dustless was speechless. At the same time, he gently tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and flashed out. Go to hell. The blue sword light swept out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. It rushed out and swept to Dustless's side in an instant. Crack! The light penetrated his body, and a shocking crack appeared on his abdomen. However, this could not stop Dustless from pouncing on Fujiki-Yaku with an unstoppable flash. Monster, monster. Hata Misato opened her mouth. If she was attacked like that, she would have died instantly. On the other hand, Dustless didn't even make a sound. It was as if Fujiki-Yaku was attacking someone else. Damn it, monster. Fujiki-Yaku was also very depressed. He was helpless against Dustless's heaven-defying ability. Looking at the light flying toward him, he could only silently watch. The enemy was right in front of him, but he was just a mass of air without a physical body. He couldn't attack at all. Bang! With a karate chop, Dustless knocked out the unwilling Fujiki-Yaku. Immediately after, Dustless began to read his memories. Since this guy didn't want to confess, he could only use force. So that's how it is, Colorless King's strength is average, but he can play tricks. Chapter 23:17. Is there any way to stop Mr. Monarch and the Ancestral Right Division? While Dustless was pondering, Hatamiko came over with a worried face. She looked up and saw 2 swords of Damocles floating in the blue sky. One of them was from the Ancestral Right Division, and the other was from Mr. Monarch Zhou Fangzuan. The body of the sword was broken, and it looked like it could be dismembered at any time. The ancestral right division is here for the little girl, Anna. Where is she? Bring her to see me. Dustless looked at Hatamiko and said calmly. For Anna. Hearing this, Hatamiko was stunned and looked at Dustless suspiciously. The ancestral right division has no grudge with Anna. It's strange that they are here for her. Hatamiko didn't think that fatal Anna would offend the ancestral right division. Even if she did, they would let bygones be bygones. Don't waste time. There are some things that can't be explained clearly to a hothead like you. Just do what I tell you to do. Bring her to me. Don't talk nonsense. Dustless impatiently scolded. You call me a hothead. Hatamiko's mouth twitched. She was angry, but she didn't dare to say anything. If other people dared to say that to her, she would have beaten them up. But Dustless was an exception. She absolutely couldn't afford to offend him. I'll go find Anna. Wait a moment. Hatamiko hurriedly left. It seemed that she was going to find Anna. The ancestral right division is also a fool. He knew that it was a plot of the King of Colorless, but he still stepped into the trap. TSK. It seems that Danishima surely is very important to him. He is also infatuated. Dustless sighed to himself. The King of Colorless captured Danishima surely alive and threatened to kill her if the ancestral right division didn't kill Anna. His purpose was very obvious. It was to provoke a war between the two kings. When both of them were injured, the King of Colorless would come out to clean up the mess. The ancestral statue rights division clearly knew that this was a trap, yet he still chose to step into it. It was obvious that this girl called Danjima Shiri meant a lot to him. No wonder he came looking for me so aggressively. He probably thought that I was the one who captured Danjima Shiri. Dustless rolled his eyes, and two figures suddenly appeared in his vision. Naturally, they were Hatamiwa and Chana. Bad guy, you're still in the mood to watch the show. Hurry and stop them. The Venerable One was injured before, and his strength is inferior to the King of Blacks. This is all you're doing. Anna's anxious voice resounded in Dustless's ears. Looking carefully, this little girl was actually covered in blood. Are you hurt? Hearing this, Dustless frowned slightly and looked at Sinming Anna carefully. Although it was not fatal, it was a fact that she was injured. Her cute face was also covered with a layer of dirt. Was it done by the ancestral right department? Dustless guessed, but his tone was very certain. Sinming Anna's crystal eyes looked at Dustless without moving. She didn't say a word, but in the end, she just nodded gently, obviously admitting to it. No wonder Venerable Zhou Fangzuan was so desperate. Dustless was relieved. Venerable Zhou, who was fighting with the ancestral right department in the distance, seemed to have gone crazy. His body was raging with flames, and the area within a few hundred meters was scorched black. Even steel would melt instantly. Sinming Anna was injured, and this had deeply infuriated Venerable Zhou. In this way, both sides would not rest until one of them was dead. Hurry and stop them. Sinming Anna's face was full of worry. She looked up and saw that Venerable Zhou's sword of Damocles was getting more and more damaged. It could fall at any time, and the consequences would be unimaginable. It's useless. Even if I stop them, these two have already formed a grudge. There's no way to resolve it. Taking a deep look at Sinming Anna, Dustless said indifferently, the ancestral right department wants your life without distinguishing between right and wrong. You are also Venerable Zhou's person. Now that he has injured you, the two of them are like lightning and fire. There's no need for us to get involved. In the future, when they meet, they will burn each other. Hatamiko was silent and looked at the ancestral statue rights division with murderous intent. Until now, she still couldn't figure out why the ancestral statue rights division had suddenly turned hostile and attacked her. She was caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. In fact, not only was Tsunming Anna injured, but Kusanagi Izumo was also severely injured and his life was hanging by a thread. Just like Dustless said, whether this was a misunderstanding or not, both sides had already formed a grudge. Moreover, they would definitely not rest until there was a victor. In the future, they were destined to fight to the death. And I have already taken action to stop them. Dustless said leisurely, the Ancestral Right Department wants to use your life to exchange for Danishima Shiri's life. In the end, he is still here for you. As long as you are with me, that guy will soon come to find trouble with me. Come for me. Tsunming Anna's pretty face was full of confusion. She didn't understand what was so special about her that made the Ancestral Right Department go to such lengths and even want to fight to the death with Venerable Zhou. Fight to the death. This is all part of the Colorless King's scheme. Dustless sighed. Although that guy's strength was average, his brain was surprisingly smart. He specifically targeted Venerable Zhou and the Ancestral Right Department's weak spots. Boom. 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 Suddenly, a turbulent energy fluctuation rushed over like a stormy sea. It was unparalleled. Hadamiko and Tsunming Anna, who were caught off guard, were almost sent flying. He's here. Dustless looked at the sky. The Ancestral Right Department stepped on the sky as if he could fly. The place he stepped on would form a blue barrier for him to step on. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Channa secretly reminded himself, and he didn't dare to have the slightest carelessness in front of Dustless. He still hasn't forgotten the scene of being crushed before. Hey! Fall for me, you dare to show off in front of me, you're asking for a beating. Dustless suddenly smiled, and the powerful eye power burst out in an instant. Amaterasu! In the blue sky, a black evil flame swept across without any warning. Of all places, it just had to burn the blue barrier that the Minister of Ceremonies was standing on. It almost evaporated in an instant. The temperature of Amaterasu is too terrifying, especially Dustless's control of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan has reached an incredible level, and all kinds of ninjutsu have become magical. Puff! The azure blue barrier was evaporated, and the Ancestral Statue Rights Division who was stepping on air was also unlucky. After losing his support point, he missed a step and fell from the sky, landing on his back. Ha 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 ha. Serves you right. The scene was stunned for a moment, and then it was followed by earth-shattering laughter. Seeing this scene, all the members of Fei Wuluo could not help but laugh. The arrogance of the Ancestral Statue Rights Department was still vivid in everyone's mind. It was like a king sent down by the heavens, walking towards Wu Qin in the air. But now, it had been tricked, and its face had been completely swept away. You bastard! You did it, right? Channa stood up from the ground, his face was blue, and his whole body was trembling with anger. This guy is too hateful. So what if it's me? So what if it's not me? If I say it's not me, will you leave? Dustless said slowly, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you defeated Zhou Fangzuan. That guy's strength is actually weak, and he was beaten by me before. You can defeat him just because he hasn't recovered his strength. No wonder, the doubts in Channa's heart were relieved. No wonder in the previous battle, Zhou Fangzuan's strength was not as good as before. It's because this guy tricked Zhou Fangzuan in advance. Phew, the Ancestral Statue Priest stood up and exhaled. He looked at Tsunming Anna and said to Dustless, this is a feud between the King of Red and the King of Blue. It seems to have nothing to do with you. I have big hands, and I like to meddle in other people's business, okay? Dustless said with disdain, also, I want to ask, if it's any of your business that I joined in. It's none of your business. You. Channa's face changed. He was already humble enough, but this guy didn't know how to treat a guest at all, and didn't take him seriously at all. Scram. Dustless pointed at Channa, his tone firm. I like this girl, I'll take care of her, go back to where you came from. That won't do. Channa shook his head decisively. The colorless king had threatened him that if he didn't kill Channa, Danjima Shiri's head would roll. He understood the principle of choosing the lesser of two evils, so he could only sacrifice one of them, Channa. Are you sure you want to be my enemy? Channa's face was green, and his face was like the bottom of a pot. If you're itching for a beating, I don't mind helping you loosen your bones. Dustless said with a smile, expressing his attitude with one sentence. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:19. Helping the King of Blue loosen his bones. This guy is too arrogant. Does he think the ancestral right division is a small sheep? Even if he's a small sheep, he'll fail miserably if he lets his guard down. Too arrogant. Everyone stared at Dustless in shock. Their eyes bulged out. This guy is too crazy. He actually dared to look down on the King of Blue. Even a normal person would be furious if they were looked down on by Dustless, let alone a king. However, the King of Blue's reply made everyone's jaws drop. Do you really want to fight to the death? The ancestral right division suppressed his anger. As long as you're willing to leave, I'll definitely pay you a visit. At this point, the ancestral right division was already very sincere. At least in the eyes of others, it was very sincere. It was definitely a miracle that a king could talk to Dustless so humbly. However, some people were just stubborn and didn't know what was good for them. Why don't you understand? There are some words that I don't want to repeat for the second time. This is the last time I'll say it. This girl. Pointing at Anna, Wuchen said flatly, I like her. I'll take care of her. Although it was just a few words, the meaning was obvious. He was going to go against the ancestral right division to protect Anna. I have no intention of being your enemy, but since you're forcing me, I won't hold back. The ancestral right division's eyes darkened as he grabbed his sword tightly. Stupid. Do you think that the King of Colorless will let Danjima Shiri go if you kill this girl? Dustless asked in disappointment. Don't have any unrealistic and childish fantasies. Whether it's true or not, there's no turning back. If I refuse Shiri's life, I'll at least have a glimmer of hope if I take Anna's head. The ancestral right division's face was resolute. With a clang, he unsheathed his sword. Under the reflection of the sunlight, the blade was sharp and piercing to the eyes. If we're not on the same page, then let's do it. Dustless didn't want to waste any more words and stood in front of Anna. Swish. 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 Seeing this, the ancestral statue ritual division didn't waste any more words. He suddenly waved his hand and a cyan sword light swept out. The sword was like thunder, faintly having an unstoppable and invincible momentum. It directly pounced on Dustless, wanting to destroy him and Sinming Anna together. This kid is crazy enough. Dustless muttered to himself. At the same time, he casually formed a hand seal, immortal technique, Bright God Gate. Swish. 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 Suddenly, an ear-piercing roar came from the sky. Looking up, the sky suddenly darkened. A large number of red logs fell from the sky, densely covering the blue sky. Boom boom boom. Caw caw caw, in the instant it fell, the earth trembled non-stop. In merely the blink of an eye, that unparalleled sword chi disappeared without a trace. A large number of red logs in front of him were like an insurmountable natural barrier, blocking his ambition. Even if Anna was close, he couldn't cross it. He could only watch helplessly. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus more, 3,000 rewards plus more, 1,000 comments plus more, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more. Chapter 23:20. Outsider. Upon hearing this title, Dustless denied it and replied, "All this while, I have never said that I am an outsider. That is all your wishful thinking." Hearing this, everyone fell silent. This was indeed the case. Dustless had never said that he was an outsider. Thinking that he was an outsider was just some people's wishful thinking. There was no truth to it at all. Dustless himself had never admitted it. Get lost, Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary. Even if you invite the Heavenly Emperor, it is useless. You have to be obedient in front of me. Your king is just a tool for me to pass the time. Dustless chased him away impatiently, not caring about the Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary's livid face. In Dustless's heart, he had already labeled this guy as an idiot. Even Zhou Fangzhuan was smarter than him. He knew that this was a trap set by the King of Colorless, but he still jumped in without hesitation. If he was not an idiot, then what was? "You arrogant bastard, watch your tone. I'm the king." The last sentence, "I'm the king," was practically roared out by the Ancestral Statue Rights Division. The one-in-a-million king was treated like a worthless little minion in Dustless's eyes. This deeply irritated the Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary. His sharp tone was like that of a eunuch, swoosh swoosh swoosh. In anger, he raised his sword again. The slash that contained a majestic destructive force tore a long ditch in the ground. Once again, he pounced on the red log in front of him. Boom boom boom. The ground trembled, and a few messy cuts appeared on the ground. However, the red log still stood firm like a mountain that could not be crossed. So strong. The King of Blue is like a clown. Everyone was secretly shocked. The so-called king was completely crushed in front of Dustless. He did not even have the qualifications to make Dustless attack him. From the beginning to the end, he did not even look at the Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary. "Come here and let me see." Suddenly, he hooked his finger at Anna. The girl hesitated for a moment. Seeing that Dustless did not have any hostility, she finally walked over slowly. Boom boom boom. On the other side, the Ancestral Statue Rights Division was still crazily attacking the red logs, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not leave a gap. His strength was too weak. "Idiot, the thing that suppressed the Ten Tails was destroyed by you. You would have dominated the world long ago." Dustless's mouth twitched in disdain. He always felt that this Ancestral Statue ceremonial minister looked mature and steady, but sometimes he was too childish. "What's the matter?" Anna walked to Dustless's side, about 3 to 4 meters away. Her expression was somewhat stiff, as if she was extremely afraid of Dustless. "Why didn't I realize you were so afraid of me before?" Dustless looked at Sinming Anna with interest and then sighed to himself. Chapter 23:21. Dustless stared at the girl's pleading eyes. Her eyes were as deep as the sea, as pitiful as crystals, filled with sparkling light. If not for Dustless' strong will, other people might not have been able to resist and agreed to Tanaim Anna's request. As for Dustless, the corners of his mouth curved slightly, looking like he was smiling but not smiling, which made Sinming Anna grit her teeth. What did he mean? Was it okay or not? Zhou Fangzhuan's external injuries are only a small problem, but that's not the main problem. You should understand what I mean, right? Dustless did not hide and said bluntly, "Actually, life and death is not up to us. It's his own choice. If he's willing to give up the position of king, he can just live a normal life. You know that's impossible." Tanaim Anna's bright eyes were covered with a thin layer of mist. Her voice was filled with disappointment. "Then I'm sorry. I can't do anything about it. If he wants to die, who can stop him?" Dustless shrugged with a helpless expression. Leader, are you okay? At this moment, an anxious voice suddenly came. It was quite pleasant to the ears. The crisp voice was indescribable. But the moment he heard this voice, Dustless's pupils suddenly shrank. This is... His gaze suddenly moved. Suddenly, Danjima Shirley, who was wearing the Scepter 4 uniform, appeared. Dustless frowned and said to himself, wasn't this chick caught by the King of Colorless? Now that she's back, does that mean she escaped from prison? Not bad. Dustless nodded slightly. He was slightly impressed by this big-breasted but brainless woman. Shirley. The gloomy clan statue rights secretary suddenly raised his head and saw the unscathed Vice President Danjima Shirley. His hanging heart calmed down, and a rare smile appeared on his pale face. That guy Colorless King let you go? Not really. Danjima Shirley heard this and gritted her teeth. She said angrily, that guy is very sinister. He used me to threaten the leader. I threatened to commit suicide, so he let me go unhappily. That's simple. At the same time, Dustless suddenly walked over. After hearing Danjima Shiri's reason, he felt strange and couldn't help but frown. The moment he met her eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. This guy is lying. Almost instantly, Dustless determined that Danjima Shiri was lying. He asked calmly, you're saying that you used suicide to force King Colorless, and that guy had no choice but to let you go? Not bad. Dan Shirley nodded and explained, of course, there could be other reasons as well. Maybe he found out about the battle between Chief Murakami and Zhou Fangzuan, and his goal was achieved. He felt that I was no longer of any use to him, so he let me go. No matter what, it's good that you're back. Ancestral Rite Master smiled and nodded. He looked at the energetic Dando Shiri and said, Colorless King, that be *starred, no matter where he goes, I will make him pay. No need to go to the ends of the earth. Dustless suddenly interrupted the Ancestral Rite Master and looked at Danjima Shiri coldly. He said unkindly, that stupid bug is in this girl's body. What? Wu Chen's words caused a huge commotion. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division stared at Dan Shirley with a dumbfounded expression. What nonsense are you talking about? Danjima Shiri's face turned red. She looked at Dustless angrily and said, Chief, this guy is talking nonsense. I think he's the one who's been possessed by the Colorless King. It's useless to quibble. Dustless replied indifferently. He said with certainty, I've fought with that bug before. I know his ability. The disgusting smell of that fat bug is still fresh in my mind. There's no evidence. You're framing me. Danjima Shiri retorted coldly, but she couldn't help but take a few steps back. Is that so? Dustless suddenly smiled evilly. I have a special ability. I can see a person's memory. Since you're innocent, why don't you test it? You! Danjima Shiri's face changed. She shouted angrily, Dream on. You're not qualified. Whether I'm qualified or not is decided by this thing. Dustless waved his fist. His meaning was clear. He was the strongest, so he had the final say. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dustless flashed and his body turned into a beam of light. He arrived in front of Danjima Shiri in an instant. His hands were already grabbing her head. Damn it! Danjima Shiri's face twisted in danger. She looked like a ferocious ghost. Bang bang bang. She took out her gun and fired 2 shots at Dustless. You bastard! Seeing this, Zhongxiang Rishi was filled with killing intent. His breathing became heavy, and his eyes became bloodshot. Danjima Shiri never used a gun, but King Colorless liked to use a gun. He was the weakest king, and he relied on a gun to defend himself. Kiki. Dustless's nose is sharper than a dog's. He actually remembers my scent. Shouldn't he be flattered? King Colorless smiled coldly. He looked at Dustless with murderous eyes. This bastard had ruined his plan again. Idiot, who remembers your scent? I said that just to scare you. Dustless snorted in disdain. Don't be so full of yourself. How narcissistic can you be if you want to catch my eye? It's too suspicious that you came back for no reason. There are too many things that don't make sense. King Colorless is ruthless. If you have no value, he should have killed you immediately. So, I was just testing you. I didn't expect you to reveal your flaws. Dustless explained. At the beginning, he felt strange. When he was talking to Danji Mashiri, he felt like he was being watched by a poisonous snake. That was why he paid more attention to her. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 gifts plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-22. Don't think of running away this time, Dustless said leisurely. His cold face flashed with a rare ferocious expression. Is that so? Dan Shirley, who was being controlled by the King of Colorless, sneered and said proudly, Dustless, I know you are very strong and can kill me with one slap. But, are you going to ignore the life and death of this girl? I'm talking about Dan Shirley. I'm hiding in her body now. How are you going to kill me? Or, kill her together with me? At this point, Dan Shirley looked at the Ancestral Right Division pitifully. Dan Shirley. What does that girl's life and death have to do with me? Dustless didn't hold back and destroyed the King of Colorless fantasy. He raised his right hand coldly and a vast amount of spiritual pressure surged out from his body. Wong Su's flash. A golden energy ball was brewing and a destructive halo appeared. Being pointed at by the energy ball, the King of Colorless' heart almost jumped out of his chest. The fear of death spread throughout his body. How can a coward like this be a king? That Drexton stone plate must be blind to choose such a trash as a king. Dustless almost vomited. He raised his head and saw Dan Shirley, who was being controlled by the King of Colorless, trembling in fear. Is this a king? Even an ordinary person wouldn't be so afraid of death. Are you? Are you crazy? Are you going to kill this girl together with me? The King of Colorless' voice was sharp and shrill. It made people shudder. Bastard, stop. A tall figure blocked Dustless and said angrily, Shirley is my subordinate. You don't have the right to kill her. You little brat. Dustless frowned and said indifferently, Ancestral Right Division, why didn't I realize you were so stupid before? This is my business. The Ancestral Right Division snorted and turned to look at Dan Shirley furiously. No, it was more appropriate to say that she was glaring at the King of Colorless in her body. Get the hell out of my body right now, or else. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division's old face was contorted, and the fury in his heart was enough to destroy the world. This colorless king was clearly an idiot, but his methods were too sinister and shameless. Hee hee, do you think I'm an idiot? Seeing the ritual master standing in front of him, King Colorless laughed arrogantly. This body is the safest shelter. If I leave, Dustless will kill me instantly. After witnessing how terrifying Dustless was, the colorless king did not doubt his strength at all. Brat, your strength is trash, but your eyesight is not bad. No wonder you can jump around for so long. Dustless seemed to be praising and mocking at the same time. Immediately after, a ruthless look appeared in his eyes, and the extinguished energy ball in front of his finger shone once again. Caw caw caw. In fact, due to the overwhelming power of the void flash, the surrounding space began to distort and crumble one after another. What are you trying to do? Chapter 23-23. Wu Chen was expressionless and looked at this scene coldly. His deep black eyes were like that of a robot, without any emotion. It gave people a feeling of coldness, as if it had nothing to do with him even if all the people in the world died. Dustless had also made an agreement with Zhou Fangzhuan to treat Sinming Anna. Venerable Zhou Fangzhuan agreed to be Dustless's prop, and the price was that after he died, he could protect Sinming Anna without any worries and would not be in danger. The initial condition was to protect the entire Vega Dance Club, but Dustless decisively rejected it in the end. There were so many members of the Vega Dance Club. How could he save them one by one? What kind of joke was this? He was not running a charity. Dustless's attitude was unyielding. Helpless, Zhou Fangzhuan could only settle for the next best thing. He hoped that he could protect Sinming Anna from harm. As for the others, he could only apologize. He had tried his best. "Ah! It's scalding me." A strange voice that was neither yin nor yang was heard. Dustless looked up and saw a white worm. No, the colorless king had revealed its true form and came out of Danjima Shiri's body. Not dead. A ripple appeared in Dustless's calm eyes, as if he was very surprised. "Ha!" The colorless king howled hysterically. Although it was impossible to tell how much pain he was in, from his twisted face and burning body, it was clear that he was not feeling well. He was in a state worse than death. Ha ha ha, damn it, the final strike actually didn't kill him. Zhou Fangzhuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of old blood. His pale face flashed with a thick unwillingness. He fell to the ground with a plop and no longer had the strength to stand up. "I hope you can keep your promise and take good care of Anna." Zhou Fangzhuan struggled to open his eyes and glanced at the indifferent Dustless before closing his eyes forever. Over the years, the members of Bark Dance Luo had gotten used to being arrogant. They considered everyone beneath them and had offended many people. He couldn't let Dustless protect the entire Bark Dance Luo, so he could only let him ensure Sinming Anna's safety. Honored one. Chanming Anna's nose turned sour. She could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes. She ran to Zhou Fangzhuan's corpse and cried bitterly. "Humph, damned bastards, just you wait. This time, the plan has failed. In the future, I will definitely destroy all of you. I will chop up your corpses and feed them to the dogs." The colorless king, who was floating in the void, roared. His sharp voice gave people goosebumps, and his deranged words made people feel like he was a madman. However, it didn't take long for tragedy to befall him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A bright light suddenly appeared in the blue sky. It was gentle and bright, like the sun. Destruction and hope coexisted, giving people a very contradictory feeling. Gulp. Looking up at the sky, the colorless king's throat twitched. This light gave him a feeling of despair. Did you just watch as he ran away? Where am I supposed to put my face? Although Zhou Fangzhuan was a lousy actor, he still sacrificed his life to complete this show. However, you are still alive. It doesn't seem right. A large number of golden lights condensed in the void. As the indifferent voice sounded, they all gathered together. Dustless's demon-like face appeared in the pupils of the colorless king. It's this guy. The moment he discovered Dustless, the colorless king's eyes trembled violently. The scenes of the past appeared one by one. Recalling the fear of Dustless, he turned around and ran for his life at his fastest speed without any hesitation. Swish, swish, swish. As the colorless king's speed was too fast, one could only see a fleeting shadow. His body was like a breeze. Dustless was unmoved. His hands were lazily in his pockets. Then, he suddenly raised his right foot. His left eye also changed. The scarlet Rinsei Sharingan made people shudder. Yatsubai Ryasaka. The majestic eye power was activated, and the void in front of him instantly shattered. Dustless went deep into the blue sky. He evaporated, and no one knew where he went. Huff, huff, huff. On the other side, the colorless king continued to run for his life. His body moved at the speed of light, disappearing in an instant. At the same time, he turned around and looked behind him. Seeing that it was calm and no one was chasing after him, he stopped. Ha ha ha, what kind of bullsh** *T is this? The next time we meet, I will take your rotten life. The colorless king laughed maniacally. His tone had a hint of madness. He was filled with fear and hatred toward Dustless. Bang! After acting cool for less than 3 seconds, the void above the colorless king's head collapsed. A huge hole appeared, and a skinny figure rushed out from it. It's you. Damn it, what's going on? How did this bastard appear? Looking at the face looking down at him from above, the colorless king's heart almost jumped out. On the other hand, Dustless's expression was calm. His right leg was still raised and aimed at the colorless king's head. Then, Sir Dustless, why don't? The colorless king suppressed the hatred and fear in his heart and said flatteringly, I am willing to be your, swish, swish, swish. Before he could finish his words, Dustless's body suddenly fell. His raised right leg landed, smashing right into the king of colorless head. Boom, boom, boom. The two of them fell from the sky together. The ground shook, and a deep pit was formed. Smoke and dust rose, and one could vaguely see Dustless's black figure standing there. As for the colorless king, let me go. The colorless king's voice had a sobbing tone. His head was being stepped on by Dustless, and he felt extremely aggrieved. In order to live, he could give up everything, even if he had to work like a cow or a horse. He might be able to make a comeback in the future. However, after he died, everything was over. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-24. It was no wonder that the colorless king wasn't willing to die. After all, being alive meant that he could earn everything. Being alive meant that he could start all over again. A moment of glory and humiliation meant nothing. As the saying went, the one who laughed the best was the absolute king. Therefore, in the face of life and death, the colorless king decisively lowered his head and admitted defeat. However, the tragedy was that Dustless was only stepping on his head and had no intention of letting go. The colorless king had nowhere to vent his anger. He swore in his heart that he would make Dustless suffer a fate worse than death when he made a comeback in the future. That Lord Dustless. The colorless king made an excited expression. I have admired you since a long time ago. If I can be your underling, I'm willing to even lose 50 years of my life. At the end of his sentence, tears miraculously squeezed out from his eyes. However, the sad thing was that Dustless's foot still didn't show any signs of moving away. Lose 50 years of my life. Dustless stared at the colorless king seriously as if he was looking at him in a new light. There's a chance. The colorless king was overjoyed, thinking that Dustless was tempted. He hurriedly continued to flatter, yes, let alone a mere 50 years of lifespan, even if I have to die for you, I won't even blink. You won't blink even if you die for me. I didn't know that I was so noble. Dustless stroked his chin. Shortly after, a wicked smile appeared on his face. How about this? How about you die for me right now? Why you can't do this? This sentence almost scared the colorless king out of his wits. He quickly screamed, I'm very valuable to you. You have to understand that you're too long-winded. Dustless exerted force on the colorless king's right foot, and the colorless king immediately stopped talking. The colorless king, who was talking, didn't notice that he had bitten his tongue. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Damn it, you better not fall into my hands one day. I will tear you into pieces and throw your corpse under the sun until it rots." The colorless king roared in his heart. The person he hated the most in his life was Dustless. "You want to kill me?" Dustless squinted his eyes and looked at the colorless king's blood-red eyes with a smile. A hint of interest appeared at the corner of his mouth. "No, no, I wouldn't dare." The colorless king was so scared that he kept denying it. If he angered Dustless, he would definitely be finished. "Really? Then why did I feel a killing intent just now?" Dustless asked calmly. That one sentence made King Colorless' heart go cold. Then, he muttered to himself, "Or am I wrong? Could it be an illusion? Yes, yes, yes. It must be an illusion, it must be an illusion." The frightened King Colorless hurriedly agreed. "I see." Dustless nodded, then said with a smirk, "Come, call me Uncle Dustless. That way, I can be sure if you're loyal to me." Hearing this, the King Colorless was stunned and almost cursed out loud. He cursed in his heart, F***CKU. In this short moment, the King Colorless had to greet Dustless's ancestor before he was satisfied. He said with a trembling voice, "No, no, Uncle Dustless, tisk tsk, grandson, you are so obedient." Dustless nodded in satisfaction. That smirk almost made the King Colorless vomit blood. However, Dustless suddenly changed the topic and said coldly, "No matter what you say, I will kill you today." "What? Then what was that just now? Were you purposely making fun of me?" The King Colorless was furious, and his heart was bleeding. So, he still had to die in the end. "No, no, no. You can't say that. You at least lived for a few more minutes, right?" Dustless said with a magnanimous look. "Damn it, you shameless villain, scum, scum. How can there be such a shameless person like you in this world?" Hearing this, the King Colorless was so angry that he lost his mind. He kept cursing as if this was the only way to vent the anger in his heart. "This bastard is too hateful and shameless. Moreover, I called you uncle, but I only lived for a few more minutes. This is a huge loss. Go to hell." Dustless replied indifferently. Then, light shot out from the bottom of his feet and swallowed the King Colorless in an instant. Light speed kick. Boom. 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 A huge fireball rose in the void and landed with a violent explosion. The King Colorless looked at Dustless with extreme hatred. He still couldn't avoid the ending of disappearing into thin air. "It's all settled." Stretching his waist lazily, Dustless suddenly noticed that the sky had darkened. He looked up at the sky and his gaze suddenly froze. That is, the scene that entered his eyes was extremely shocking. A large amount of dust fell from the sky, and there were particles everywhere. It was as if a sandstorm had suddenly occurred. However, this wasn't the most horrifying thing. "Is that Zhou Fangzuan's sword of Damocles? It's going to start falling." Dustless mumbled to himself. He looked up and saw a broken sword falling slowly from the void. If this thing falls, the consequences will be unimaginable. Dustless mumbled and suddenly appeared in front of Zhou Fangzuan's corpse. There was also Tsinming Anna, who was crying helplessly. "Let's go." Dustless spoke coldly, his tone emotionless. "Go?" Tsinming Anna turned her head and looked at Dustless like a zombie. She pointed at the falling sword and said in despair, "It's good that it's falling. We can die together with Fangzuan." "Is that so? But I can only apologize. I don't intend to die here, so I can only destroy it." Looking up at the sky, Dustless's lips curled up slightly. His smile was filled with contempt and mockery. That falling sword was like a clown that wasn't worth mentioning. It was hard to look at. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. It was definitely the cruelest torture in the world. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-26. You deserve to die. Provoking me 3 or 4 times, this is what you deserve. Dustless's face was cold. He didn't have the slightest bit of pity for the tragic death of Fu Jian Yuan Bigu. He didn't even look at it. It was as if the one who was killed was not a human, but a beast that had nothing to do with Dustless. This guy. Dustless was as calm as a breeze, but some people were furious. The sharp eyes of the ancestral statue ceremony officer locked onto Dustless. Every time he opened his mouth to speak, blood would flow out from the corner of his mouth, as if he was biting his tongue to speak. What advice do you have? Realizing that he was locked onto by a strong killing intent, Dustless asked indifferently, if you want to take revenge for an idiot like Fu Jian Yuan Bigu, don't come out, or I will look down on you. He is my subordinate. The voice of the ancestral statue ceremony officer was hoarse, and his hair had turned white in an instant. It was enough to see how big of a blow today was to him. I know he is your subordinate. Wu Chen nodded slightly and said calmly, but people will die eventually. If I die for you, maybe that guy will laugh so hard that he can't sleep when he goes to hell. In your eyes, what is a human life? The ancestral statue ceremony officer was angry and roared at the top of his voice. It's very simple. In the face of the roaring ancestral right division, Dustless's expression was calm. When I'm interested, a person's life is worth a lot of money. When I'm not interested in him, then he's worthless. A few minutes later, Dustless left with Tsinming Anna. He was as comfortable as he could be, and no one dared to stop him. From today onwards, Dustless would rise unstoppably, and no one would dare to provoke him. In the future, you will temporarily follow me. When you are tired of it and want to leave, I will not stop you. Dustless's expression was calm as he looked into Anna's big eyes and said, as for now, it's impossible for you to leave. That ancestral right division wants your life at all times. Will the others be in danger? Tsinming Anna looked at Dustless nervously. She had completely ignored Dustless's words. Little girl, you really make people worry. You can't even protect your own life. Is it important to you what happens to others? Dustless comforted her softly. Humans, there are many things in life that don't go your way. There are some things that you can't solve. You can only look on the bright side. However, Dustless suddenly changed the topic. If the members of Vega Wullo are willing to disband this organization and leave this city, I don't think anyone will make things difficult for them. However, if they continue to stay here, Dustless dragged out his words. His meaning was self-evident. What will happen if we continue to stay here? Tsinming Anna stared at Dustless with her big watery eyes and held her small hands nervously. Do you still need to ask me? Dustless rolled his eyes and said with great certainty, then this hatred will naturally shift, and Hata Miwa and Kusanagi Izumo will be in danger. I'm going to inform them. Hearing this, Tsinming Anna decisively left. Dustless knew that she was probably going to inform Hata Miwa and the others. Stop right there. The young girl hadn't even taken 2 steps when Wu Chen was like a natural barrier, blocking in front of her. Who let you leave without my permission? Dustless directly grabbed Tsinming Anna and forcibly took her away. Let go of me, you can't restrict my freedom. Tsinming Anna cried and made a fuss. She even shouted that Dustless was a human trafficker. Many passers-by picked up their phones and called the police. However, from the beginning to the end, Tsinming Anna still couldn't get away. She was forcibly dragged away by Dustless. In Dustless and the cat's villa, the jealous cat was unhappy when she found that he had brought back another beautiful girl. She bared her teeth at Dustless and even bared her fangs and claws, like a jealous tigress. However, the tragedy was that no matter how much she complained, Dustless chose to ignore it one by one. He didn't even look at her. After spending some time with the cat, Dustless also knew this guy's temperament. Sometimes, the more he tried to enlighten her, the more she would make a fuss. If he just ignored her, she would stop by herself. If you have the ability, keep an eye on me. It's best if you take me with you even to the toilet and sleep. Ming Anna looked at Dustless fiercely. This guy was really bad and had no human feelings at all. Take you with me to the toilet and sleep. Dustless's expression changed slightly, and a strange look appeared on his indifferent face. Are you taking advantage of me? Little brat, how old are you? Your mind is already so dirty. You don't talk nonsense. Who is dirty? Hearing this, Ming Anna's pretty face was covered with a morbid blush. She quickly explained, who would be blind enough to like a rotten person like you? Don't be so self-righteous. Then I'm sorry to disappoint you. The number of people who like me is enough to line up the whole world. Dustless said with extreme narcissism. His tone was calm and natural as if he was stating a fact. He was unusually calm. Can you let me go and inform them? Ming Anna walked to Dustless's side and rubbed her white face against Dustless's right hand. It was warm and quite comfortable. She said softly, I promise to come back right away. I won't cause you any trouble, okay? Ming Anna's pitiful look and beautiful eyes could melt ice. It made people unable to refuse. Even the kitten was touched. She actually picked up a kitchen knife and looked at Dustless. She even raised her hand threateningly as if saying that if you don't agree, I will chop you up. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-27. I refuse. Dustless mercilessly rejected Anna after staring at her for a while. His firm tone was as cold as a rock, and it made people shiver. Why? My lord only asked you to ensure my safety, but he didn't ask you to limit my freedom. You are imprisoning an underage girl. It's against the law. Anna said angrily. Her cheeks were puffed up, and it was quite cute. Against the law. Dustless laughed and said in a bored tone, life is too boring. If you want to call the police, feel free. The phone is at the bedside. I won't stop you. You are a blockhead. Anna picked up a pillow and threw it at him. Then, she ran to her room angrily. Is it really appropriate for you to be so heartless? Kat suddenly frowned. She was wearing simple pajamas, and her hot body was exposed. Especially her huge cleavage, it was almost jumping out. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Dustless replied expressionlessly, you can't always rely on other people's help. That group of people needs to be self-reliant. I can save them once, but can I take care of them for a lifetime? But then again. Dustless couldn't help but take a few more glances at Kat. He asked calmly, what do you mean by holding a kitchen knife? Are you planning to stab me? Why would I? Hearing this, the cat blushed and quickly hid the kitchen knife behind her back. You. Forget it, I'm going to sleep. Dustless was too lazy to continue talking nonsense with Kat. After a long time, he might be thought of as a blabbermouth. As for whether Anna could escape or not, there was no need to worry about that. The entire villa was wrapped in a transparent enchantment. She couldn't escape even if she had wings. At the same time, in another place, the skyscrapers pierced through the clouds. Looking from here, the original appearance of the entire city was in sight. There was also a large number of guards protecting it. "Lieutenant, long time no see. You are still as energetic as before." At the top of the building, the white-haired boy is Anna. No, it would be more appropriate to call him the Silver King. He smiled and reminisced with the Golden King. The person standing next to him was none other than Go Lang. It was undeniable that Adolf K. Weitzman wasn't good at fighting, but at the very least, he was quite good at talking. He managed to trick Go Lang into joining his camp and becoming his ally. "Yeah, it's been a long time." The Golden King also nodded calmly and sighed. It was exactly the same as the saying, "Once you recover your body, it will be 100 years. Then, he took a few deep looks at the Izona Society and said in a deep voice, "I feel more and more that my strength is falling short of my wish," so, at this point, the Golden King fell silent. He looked at the huge round stone plate in front of him. It was surrounded by a faint light and had many mysterious patterns. It seemed to have come from a distant ancient society. "I'll be frank. I'm afraid this is the last time we meet, so I want to give you the Drexton stone plate for safekeeping." Focusing his gaze on the head of the Silver King, the Golden King explained solemnly, "Only you can keep a good eye on it." "First Lieutenant," the Silver King looked at the Golden King with a complicated expression. His eyes became hollow, and he couldn't help but recall the past. When they met in the past, the Golden King was still a tall soldier in a military uniform. Now that they hadn't seen each other for decades, his hair had turned white, and countless wrinkles were clearly visible on his cheeks. "I also want to safekeep it, but you also know that I don't have the strength that you do." The Silver King was distressed. Not to mention suppressing the power of the Drexton stone plate, even the colorless king was enough to make him flustered and miserable. If it wasn't for Dustless's explanation, he would probably still be hunted down. The power of the Drexton stone plate was extremely strong, and only the Golden King could successfully suppress it. It was also because of his success in suppressing the power of the stone plate that the number of outsiders was kept to a minimum. If it were anyone else, they might not be able to do it. For example, in the original work, after the death of the Golden King, the Black King took over his task of safekeeping the stone plate. Sadly, it was not long before the Green King took it away. Sigh. The Golden King heard this and let out a long sigh. His face was filled with endless desolation and helplessness. At the same time, he couldn't help but complain about the Silver King. After all, he was the origin of all kings. How could he be so useless? "Fighting is not my strong suit." As if sensing the dissatisfaction of the Golden King, the Silver King rolled his eyes and complained, "Besides, there are other kings besides me, such as..." Just as he was about to recommend other kings to guard the Drexton stone plate, the Silver King fell silent. Because of the previous battle, the situation among the kings had changed greatly. The Red King, Shou Fangzuan, died in battle, and so did the colorless king. Although the Black King, who was lucky enough to survive, escaped death, he also suffered a great blow, and his temperament changed greatly. Who to entrust with such an important thing like the Drexton stone plate became a big problem. Once the powerful power of the stone plate could not be suppressed, more and more outsiders would appear, and Japan would inevitably fall into chaos. How about, the Silver King's eyes suddenly lit up, and the cold face of Dustless appeared in his mind. He smiled and suggested, "If it's that guy, Dustless, he can definitely suppress the power of the Drexton stone plate. No one would dare to have any ideas about him." "What you said makes sense, but that guy doesn't make me feel at ease." The Golden King's old face showed doubt, and he said, "Besides, that guy doesn't seem to be interested in this thing. If I give it to him, it might be thrown away like trash. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates." Chapter 23-28. Throw it away like trash. Hearing the Golden King's words, not to mention the Silver King, even the Night Blade God Go Lang, who was standing behind him, twitched his mouth. How arrogant was he to treat a peerless treasure like trash? Perhaps only Dustless would be so bold. But thinking carefully about Dustless's style of doing things, he fell silent. According to Dustless's temperament, it was very likely that he would do so. The Drexten stone plate that gave the king his power. To Dustless, it might really be just trash. Besides, the Golden King's tone paused slightly, and he did not hide anything. After all, the Silver King was on his side. That guy is too mysterious. I can't trust him. Besides, he's not the king. Maybe you don't know, but the Drexten stone plate is the only thing that limits him. If this thing falls into his hands, that guy will really be lawless in the future. He won't put anyone in his eyes anymore. Our days will be even more difficult, the Golden King said cautiously. There was a great deal of fear in his words. The only bargaining chip to limit him. Hearing this, the Silver King's eyelids twitched. He immediately understood what the Golden King meant. The power of an outsider and a king came from the Drexten stone plate. If the Drexten stone plate was destroyed one day, then Dustless's power would definitely disappear. I see. The Silver King suddenly understood. He immediately took a deep breath and said, if that's the case, then leave the Drexten stone plate to me for safekeeping. I'll do my best. Adolf K. Weitzman was also wary of Dustless. Not only was this guy evil and powerful, but perhaps as the Golden King said, the Drexten stone plate was the only thing that could restrain him. The power that destroyed everyone would disappear, and Dustless would become immortal. If this guy was handed over to Dustless, then he would have no worries and would be even more unscrupulous in the future. Of course, if Dustless himself heard this, he would definitely laugh at the Silver King and the Golden King. When did I admit that I was a king or an outsider? My power did not come from that stupid stone plate at all. My lord, the King of Blue is here to visit. Just as the Gold King and the Silver King were chatting happily, someone suddenly reported the arrival of the Ancestral Rites Division. Both of them frowned at the same time. The fall of the King of Red, as well as the change in temperament of the King of Blue, had all become turbulent elements. Now, at such a sensitive time, the sudden arrival of the ancestral statue rites was truly puzzling. No one could figure out what this fellow was up to. What should we do? The Silver King frowned. We can't just turn them away, can we? Zhong Xiang, that fellow, the Golden King's eyes flickered and his right eyelid kept twitching. Recently, he had been feeling uneasy, as if something bad was about to happen. His eyelid kept twitching and he was very irritated. I can't refuse, and I also want to ask him what he thinks. If he's willing to stay true to himself, I don't mind giving him the Drexten stone plate for safekeeping. The Golden King said in a deep voice, Weitzman, leave with your allies first. I'll meet with the Ancestral Statue Ritual Division alone. Something big must have happened for you to come at this time, all right. Without further ado, the Silver King turned and left with the Night Blade God Galang. Your Majesty. The Ancestral Statue Ritual Division came before the Golden King and bowed respectfully. He was still rather respectful to this old man who was over 70 years old. Ancestral Statue. The Golden King also carefully examined the Ancestral Statue Ritual Division. The moment he raised his head, the Golden King's old eyes twitched violently. He almost did not recognize the Ancestral Statue Ritual Division. Looking as far as he could, he saw that the black hair on both sides of the Ancestral Statue Ritual Division's temples had turned white. His face was also sunken, pale and powerless. His eyes were bright red, and a terrifying light flashed in them from time to time. He gave off the feeling that he was possessed by some unknown monster. Compared to the handsome and confident ancestral statue ritual division of the past, the current him seemed to have his soul and blood sucked out, leaving only his body. It seems that you have undergone a lot of changes during this period of time. The Golden King said flatly. His intention to hand the Drexton stone plate over to the ancestral statue ritual division for safekeeping had been thrown out of the window. The ancestral statue ritual division in front of him had changed completely. His body and soul had completely changed. He was no longer the king of blue he knew. Ancestral statue, although these words are a little far-fetched, you should be more open-minded about some things. The dead cannot be brought back to life. My condolences. The Golden King advised from the standpoint of an elder. After all, they were all kings. He did not want to see the ancestral statue ritual division sink. In the future, the safety of this country still required people like the ancestral statue ritual division to take the place of the fallen. Your Majesty, however, the ancestral statue ritual division remained indifferent. His eyes were motionless. Obviously, he did not listen to the Golden King's words. To be honest, I am here to borrow something from you. The ancestral statue ritual division suddenly looked at the Golden King with a burning gaze. His eyes were fervent and a little greedy. Just say it. The Golden King said generously. Other than the Drexton stone plate, he did not care about anything else. It's not a difficult matter. I just hope that you can lend me the Drexton stone plate. The ancestral statue ritual division answered calmly. This sentence made the Golden King frown. His gaze was as sharp as a knife. He re-examined the ancestral statue ritual division in front of him, whose temperament had changed greatly. From this sentence, the Golden King not only smelled the meaning of borrow, but also faintly felt a threat and an obscure murderous intent. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-29. If it was before, the Golden King would not have minded giving the Drexton stone plate to the ancestral statue rights division for safekeeping, but now, the meaning was different. After going through such a painful experience, it was difficult for the ancestral statue rights division to maintain his original heart, and it was possible that he would do something crazy. For example, as long as the Drexton stone plate was destroyed, Dustless's power would also disappear, and everyone would become ordinary humans. How would they protect Sinming Anna then? Zhongxiang, I'm very pleased that you have such a dedicated heart. You don't have to worry about this matter. I've already found a suitable custodian. The Golden King's meaning was obvious. He refused. Oh, is that so? The ancestral statue rights division heard this, and a strange light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Sure enough, this guy has changed, more unfamiliar, and his temperament has become colder. The Golden King narrowed his eyes, and in that instant, he keenly captured a trace of coldness. Although it was fleeting, and other kings might not have felt it, the old Golden King was still strong, and he was immediately aware of the slight change, and immediately became vigilant. In that case, I won't force you. This is the snack I brought, please accept it. A gentle smile suddenly appeared on the ancestral statue rights division's face, and suddenly took out an exquisite box that was packaged well, and one could smell the appetizing aroma. It's rare for you to be so filial, then I won't stand on ceremony. A satisfied smile appeared on the Golden King's old face, and he immediately advised, Ancestral statue, there are many things in this world that don't go your way, look at the future. I understand, I still have things to take care of, goodbye. The ancestral statue rights division nodded, and immediately turned to leave, as if he could really let go. What a pity. Staring at the ancestral statue rights division's back, the Golden King sighed faintly. A person who was fine was tormented by Dustless into such a state, like a puppet in human skin, and the soul inside was completely lost. What is it that smells so good? The Golden King was very curious, and without thinking much, he opened the exquisite gift box without hesitation. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, a violent explosion suddenly swept out. It was as if the detonator had been activated. The room where the Golden King was in soared into a huge crimson fireball. The blazing fire burned everything. Even the top floor was blown away due to the strength of the explosive. In the villa that Dustless bought. Bang, bang, bang. Because Dustless refused to let Ming Anna leave, the little girl was full of complaints and had nowhere to vent. She smashed a lot of valuable things, but Dustless lacked everything except money, so he didn't care. Go ahead. I don't care anyway. Why don't I tell you directly that I lack everything but money? I'll buy better things for you later. Save your energy. You'll be tired. Don't ask me why. You can be willful when you're rich. Dustless said arrogantly in Anna's room. He looked like a nouveau riche. Because he had the ability of Gate of Babylon, he was not short of money. UB*** starred. Ming Anna's pink face was full of anger. When she met Dustless, who was stubborn and unmoved by force or persuasion, she was very angry. The anger that erupted in a short day was more than what she had accumulated in a lifetime. Do whatever you want. Shrugging, Dustless simply left. Ming Anna was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Oh no, I'm telling you something big happened. This is bad. As soon as he came out of Ming Anna's room, he heard the cat screaming. Dustless was speechless for a while. Did watching TV have to be so exaggerated? Come and see. Just as Dustless took out a can of Coke from the fridge and was about to open it, the cat dragged Dustless's arm and left. It's a miracle. Don't you specialize in watching cartoons? Now you're watching the news like an adult. Wu Chen teased in a bored way. At the same time, he glanced at the TV without a trace, and his pupils suddenly shrank. The scene that came into view turned out to be the Golden King's lair. The whole building had been blown up. TSK. That's rare. Who would be so bold as to go to their door? That old man, Golden King, must be furious. Wu Chen laughed gloatingly. He would not be so bored as to sympathize with Guo Chonglu. Who is so crazy? Even the strongest king dares to provoke. The murderer must be a big shot. The cat muttered to itself, and at the same time, couldn't help but steal a few glances at Dustless. No need to look. I didn't do it, and I don't bother to blow up the building. Dustless said indifferently. The perfect consusanu/down and this city will be destroyed, and the land will sink into the sea. Why would I be so bored to blow up the building? And it was only half blown up, and the destruction was not so thorough. If you want to embarrass the Golden King, do it more thoroughly. The one who blew up the building was also a rookie. His mouth was full of disdain, but Dustless was actually curious. Who was so crazy to provoke the Golden King? Is it that guy? A strange figure suddenly appeared in his mind. Dustless's mouth flashed with a playful smile. According to the location of the intelligence, it seems to be here. At the same time, outside Dustless's villa, two uninvited guests suddenly appeared. One was big and one was small, and they looked rather strange. Both of them were holding weapons. Hee, who cares if it's him or not? Is there anyone who dares to stop us? What's there to be afraid of? The little brat chuckled. He had a small stature, but his temper wasn't small. His arrogant tone was condescending, as if no one could be compared to him other than those in his camp. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:30. Aya. Why are the Green King's people here? You came uninvited, and it sounds like you're planning to barge in. How arrogant. A lazy voice suddenly came from behind. The two of them jumped in fright and hurriedly turned around. I'm the owner of the house. Don't you know how to knock? You don't even know how to be polite. Your subordinates are all crooked. Looks like Bai Shuailu is just an idiot with dreams but no strength. Dustless walked over with his hands in his pockets. You bastard, the two of them, one big and one small, looked at Wuchen unkindly. Their eyes were filled with hostility. Do you think I'm too arrogant? You don't like me. Dustless went straight to the point. Come, let me see how strong you two are. You Xiao Shensi and Wuju Suzhou, right? You two are the Green Clan's officers, right? Hearing this, the two's pupils suddenly shrank. The contempt in their eyes disappeared, and they looked at Dustless seriously. How do you know our identities? Yu Xiao Shensi looked at Dustless in shock. She felt that Dustless was too mysterious. The Green Clan had always been secretive. The members almost never met each other, and they only gave orders through the network. But now, Dustless easily knew their identities and origins. How could they not be shocked? Pfft, Dustless's cold face looked like he had heard the funniest joke. He couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Yu Xiao Shensi as if she was an idiot and said disdainfully, What, do you think you've done so well that no one knows? In fact, I know more than that. Not only did your Green Clan secretly control everything, but you also instigated the Colorless King to attack the Silver King. You even used the Colorless King to cause a series of conflicts, causing the situation to go out of control. That fat worm, the Colorless King, was so proud. Actually, he's quite pitiful. He's been used from head to toe. The Colorless King had always thought that he was part of the Green King's scheme, but little did he know that he was just a pawn of the Green King. Alright, enough chit-chat. Tell me why you're here. Are you going to confess, or do you want me to force you to tell the truth? Dustless said casually, not putting the two in his eyes at all. Don't be too arrogant. You're just an outsider. Do you think you're a king? The small boy, Susumu Gojo, looked at Dustless arrogantly. He was extremely uncomfortable with his attitude. When the adults are talking, why is a little brat like you interrupting? Get lost. Without even looking at the short man, Wuchen scolded coldly. You're courting death. Susumu Gojo was instantly enraged. His face turned red like a monkey's butt. No matter what, he was still a high-ranking member of the Green Clan. Dustless dared to talk to him like that. It was obvious that he was looking down on him. What made Susumu Gojo want to vomit blood was that Dustless didn't even look at him from the beginning to the end. He kept looking at Yu Xiao Shensi's eyes, as if he was being ignored. Ho ho ho. You've got guts. Sukuroyo heaved a heavy sigh as if he was about to spit out all the anger in his body. He remembered what the Green King had told him. As long as he swallowed his anger, he warned with a hoarse voice, apologize to me before I'm completely enraged. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Susumu Gojo clenched his fist at the end of his sentence. His small face was instantly filled with struggle. Get lost. Dustless repeated the same tone, completely ignoring Susumu Gojo. Why should a kid interfere in the world of adults? Oh. Very good. You've angered me. Unable to bear it any longer, Kojio Kuna reached his limit and pounced over with a club in his hand. Swoosh. Although he was young, he was still a high-ranking member of the Green Clan. He could even suppress Yamada Miko and Fujiwara Bigu. His speed was also very fast. Bang! The heavy stick landed on Dustless's right shoulder. Crack! A crisp sound was heard, as if the bone was broken. Ha 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 ha, you can't even withstand a single blow. How dare you talk to me so arrogantly? What a piece of trash. Susumu Gojo laughed maniacally, mocking Dustless for overestimating himself. From the beginning to the end, Dustless didn't say a word. He didn't even look at him. His gaze was still fixed on Yushao Shensi. This girl is the main dish. That scolding brat is just a kid who hasn't grown up yet. How dare you ignore me? Susumu Gojo was dumbfounded. His face turned green. He had never seen such an arrogant person. He was even more arrogant than their king, the Green King. Hee hee. Since you want to be crippled, I'll fulfill your wish. Susumu Gojo laughed sinisterly. He lifted his stick and walked towards Dustless. Bang! However, just as he took a step forward, Susumu Gojo was stunned. Suddenly, the stick in his hand became lighter. He looked down and saw that it had broken into two. What's going on? How did it break? Did I buy a fake? Susumu Gojo was furious. Just as he was about to beat someone up, his weapon broke. How could he endure this? Could it be? Yushao Shensi's expression changed slightly. She suddenly understood something. No wonder the Green King was so cautious of Dustless. If she guessed correctly, the crack sound just now wasn't from Dustless's arm breaking. It was from Susumu Gojo's stick that was too fragile. It broke when it hit Dustless's body. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:31. Could it be? Yushao Shensi's expression changed. No wonder the Green King was so wary of Dustless. If she guessed correctly, that crack wasn't Dustless's arm breaking. It was Wuju Hisashi's staff that was too fragile. It was like throwing an egg at a rock when it smashed into Dustless's body. What kind of ability does this guy have? His body is ridiculously tough. I'm afraid that normal swords won't be able to pierce through his skin. What an unbelievable monster. Yushao Shensi muttered to herself. She looked at Dustless cautiously. She understood Wuju Hisashi's strength. Although he wasn't as strong as her, he was still a member of the Green Clan. His strength was extraordinary. But it was such a person who was unscathed when a bunch of them hit Wuchen's shoulder. Instead, Wuju Hisashi's club was broken. How tough is his skin? Is he still human? Looks like I've underestimated you. But don't think that victory is in your hands. I wasn't serious just now. Don't get too cocky. Wuju Hisashi looked at Dustless with hostility. His eyes flickered like a venomous snake. No one dared to look him in the eye. At the same time, the weapon in his hand changed. A large amount of emerald light erupted. The staff in Wuju Hisashi's hand also changed. In the blink of an eye, it became a dangerous scythe. Do you still want to fight? Dustless frowned. He didn't want to fight with Wuju Hisashi because he saw him as a child. Who would have thought that this kid was so arrogant that he didn't realize the difference in strength between them? Back off. Seeing Dustless's gaze turn cold, like a blade that could pierce the soul, let alone Godric Kuna, even Yushao Shensi felt her scalp go numb. She couldn't help but feel fear. Just like what the Green King said to Water Flow, Dustless wasn't a king, but he was as strong as a king, or even stronger. Back off. What kind of joke is this? Trash like him, if I get serious, I'll be able to finish him off in 2 or 3 moves. Sujio Wuju, who still hadn't figured out the difference between them, was still groaning. He didn't even care about Yushao Shensi's warning. Even now, he still thought that his staff was broken because he bought a fake. You idiot! Hearing this, Yushao Shensi was speechless. She couldn't help but agree with Dustless's words. A child was a child. Even if this child had some strength, in the end, he was still a brat who hadn't grown out his hair. Did he not realize that Dustless did not even look at him from the beginning to the end? I don't want to repeat myself. She glanced at Wuju Hizuna and said coldly, "Little demon, I hope you don't force me to do it myself." Hearing this, Hizana Gojo was completely dumbfounded. He looked at Yu Xiao Shensi in astonishment. She wanted to start a war with him over an enemy. Was there something wrong with her head? He could understand if Dustless said those words, but wasn't Yu Xiao Shensi one of his own? Why would she betray her own teammate at this time? However, Hizana Gojo remained silent and tactfully kept his weapon. Of course, he wasn't giving face to Dustless, this newbie, but to Yu Xiao Shensi. Finally, there's someone who knows what's good for them. In the future, when you go out, remember not to bring this idiotic brat out. It will lower your IQ and taste. Do you understand? Wu Qin lectured Yu Xiao Shenzi with the tone of an elder. Wuju Hisashi almost went berserk when he heard this. Good, good, good. You've got guts. Go ahead and be happy for me. When you're no longer useful, I'll let you know what terror is. Yuji Gojo's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Wu Qin with bloodshot eyes. He couldn't wait to swallow this brat alive. Too despicable. He's still young and doesn't know any better. Please forgive him. Yu Xiao Shensi smiled embarrassedly. Her words made Hizana Gojo speechless. Those words were full of flattery. How can this brat? Looking at Dustless, Hizana Gojo was spitting fire with jealousy. Let's stop chatting and talk about your intentions. Don't waste my time. Dustless waved his hand impatiently. Where did this brat's bullshit come from? If I go back late, Dustless's dish will be eaten by the cat again. Our intentions are simple. We hope to join forces with you. Yu Xiao Shensi didn't hide it and said according to the Green King's order. When the time comes, our king, the Green King, by Xue Lu, and you will become existences like the Gold King. In other words, you'll dominate this country. Dustless frowned and muttered to himself. I remember the Green King's goal was to release the power of the Drexten stone plate to promote human evolution. Why did it change? Do you agree? Yu Xiao Shensi didn't care about what Dustless was mumbling. She looked at Dustless expectantly. She also looked forward to Bai Shuelio's ideal world. So you want to join forces? Dustless wasn't surprised and just nodded. You agree? Yu Xiao Shensi smiled, thinking that Dustless had agreed. After all, the Green King's strength was unquestionable. When he was young, he challenged the Gold King. Although he lost, his strength was almost on par with the Gold King. It was understandable that he agreed. However, before Yu Xiao Shensi could be happy, Dustless slapped her in the face. Join forces with me. That Green King, do you think he's worthy? P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2332. Join forces with me. Is that Green King worthy? Yu Xiao Shensi and Kojio Hisa were stunned. They stood there in a daze, their minds short-circuiting. The Green King's strength was undeniable. Although he failed to challenge the Golden King, his battle prowess was on the same level as the Golden King. Even the Colorless King was his chess piece. Even the kings like Zhou Fangzuan and Zhong Xiang were his playthings. However, Dustless dared to say that the Green King wasn't worthy of joining forces with him. He was looking down on him. This was no longer a matter of respect or disrespect. Dustless despised the Green King from the bottom of his heart. He was completely disdainful. My ears aren't good. Repeat what you said just now. Kogyo Hisa looked at Dustless with a red face. The scythe appeared in his hand again. It was full of threat. Ears aren't good. Dustless was stunned. Pity covered his face. Sigh. You're already disabled at such a young age. Looks like the Green King must have abused you. Poor thing, he made you disabled. TSK. But you too. Why did you come out when you're disabled? It's not easy to live. You. Hearing this, Kogyo Hisashi's face turned red. He roared madly, "Don't stop me. I'm going to be torn to pieces by this bastard." Too infuriating. Kogyo Hisa almost vomited blood when he thought about how Kogyo Hisa called himself disabled. Brat, you're not only disabled, but also mentally retarded. Didn't you say that your ears aren't good? Wu Qin said innocently. Even Yu Xiao Shensi thought that Wu Qin was asking for a beating, not to mention Hisa Gojo. His mouth was really asking for a beating. Go to hell. Kogyo Hisa leaped forward with his scythe, aiming at Dustless's head. He wanted to kill him directly. Come back quickly, you're no match for that guy. Seeing this, Yu Xiao Shensi was greatly alarmed and hurriedly grabbed over. He could clearly feel the hidden killing intent in Dustless's eyes. Dustless was definitely not a good person. Previously, the Green King had been secretly observing Dustless. In the end, he came to a shocking conclusion: Dustless was stronger than all the other kings. It sounded inconceivable. He wasn't a king, but his strength surpassed the 7 kings. But that was the truth. Even the Golden King didn't dare to act rashly in front of Wu Qin, let alone a small character like Su Jojo. Su Jojo was just a kid who didn't even have his hair fully grown yet. As such, Green King Bai Shui had secretly instructed Yu Xiao Shensi that even if they couldn't become allies with Dustless, they couldn't become enemies either. But now, Su Jiu was provoking Dustless so many times. Wasn't this ruining the Green King's plan? Die! The scythe slashed towards Dustless, and the fatal edge was about to cut his neck. Scared silly, huh? Not moving at all. Kogyo Hisa sneered. How could someone like him be worthy of joining hands? It's more appropriate to kill him directly. Clang, clang, clang. Suddenly, a roar came from the sickle. It seemed that it had hit something hard. Sparks flew in all directions. Kogyo Hisa's face changed slightly. When he looked up, his face twitched violently. What is the meaning of this? The person who blocked Kogyo Hisa's attack wasn't Dustless. From start to finish, he didn't make a move. He just stood there lazily, waiting for his death. If it wasn't for you, I would have killed this arrogant fool. Kogyo Hisa glared at Yu Xiao Shensi. This arrogant brat still dares to call others an idiot. You're already at death's door, and you still haven't realized it. No matter what, you're already in your teens. Have you lived for so long in vain? Yu Xiao Shensi's handsome face was as black as the bottom of a pot. At the same time, he turned his head to look at Dustless, who was standing there motionlessly as if this had nothing to do with him. His heart sank to the bottom. Just now, that feeling can't be wrong. This guy is definitely not an ordinary person. That sinister killing intent is definitely not an illusion. Maybe I was a step too late. Kogyo Hisa has already been dismembered. Yu Xiao Shensi was extremely depressed. When Kogyo Hisa was about to kill Dustless, he felt that Dustless's eyes had changed. It was like a bloodthirsty demon. If his bloodthirst was drawn out, not to mention Kogyo Hisa, even he wouldn't be able to escape death. Why did you stop me? However, Hizuna Gojo, that stinking brat, still had a cool expression on his face as if he had just defeated Dustless. This kind of trash, if I get serious, I can apologize. Yu Xiao Shenzi didn't give this brat a chance to continue speaking and ordered coldly. Apologize. Kojio Hisa was dumbfounded. Who should he apologize to? Other than Yu Xiao Shenzi, there was only Dustless. Am I supposed to apologize to this trash? What kind of joke is this? I will never, don't make me repeat myself. Yu Xiao Shenzi interrupted Kojio Hisa again. Her tone was simple and straightforward, but her tone was getting colder and colder. This is interesting. Dustless suddenly became interested. He rubbed his chin and looked at this scene with interest. He didn't have any intention of interrupting from the start to the end. Sometimes, watching a fight between clowns was an interesting thing to do. Apologize. Stop dreaming, unless you kill me. Kojio Hisa had a stubborn look on his face. Apologizing to Dustless. What kind of joke is this? This guy mocked me and called me a cripple and a retard, and now I'm apologizing to him. I'd rather die. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 tips plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2333. Wuju glared at Yu Xiao Shenzi for a long time. If it wasn't for the huge difference in strength, he definitely wouldn't have minded giving this bastard a slap. Was there a mistake? Who the F***ck was his brother? How can you side with an outsider? What a bastard. What made Kuru the most depressed was that when he saw Yu Xiao Shenzi's furious expression, he really wanted to ask, did I kill your biological parents? Are you kidding me? However, Yu Xiao Shenzi looked at him coldly. There was no emotion in her eyes. She was like a block of ice, emitting an ominous chill. This is interesting. You haven't even challenged me and you're already fighting amongst yourselves. Wu Chen touched his chin and remained silent. He squinted his eyes and the corners of his mouth curved into a smile. He looked like an old fox who was watching two clowns quarreling, full of ridicule. Get out of my way. Su Yuji almost coughed up blood when he saw this. He wanted to beat Wu Chen to death, but his own people came to deal with him. How could Su Yuji endure this? His face was thrown to the sky. I'm going to beat this guy to death. The more he looked at Wu Chen, the more annoyed he was. Especially Wu Chen's gloating expression, it was as if he was looking at a clown. It was infuriating. The impatient Wujo's Hisana began to shout. His eyes were filled with ferocity, like a tiger that had gone mad. Looks like you're not going to apologize. Yu Xiao Shenzi's tone became colder and colder. She clenched her fists, but violent fury didn't notice the 5 strands of hair on his head. He was only thinking about how to vent his anger by beating up Dustless. Me? Apologize. Wuju Hisana sneered and pointed at Wu Chen. This fellow wants me to apologize to him. Are you kidding me? You're the Green King's man, not this guy's dog. Paw. Yu Xiao Shenzi's eyes turned cold. She slapped him, and a glaring red handprint appeared on Gajudo Hisashi's cute face. You dare to hit me. After being stunned for a moment, Hisana Gojio was dumbfounded. No one had ever hit him before, especially with such a vicious slap. It hurt so much that his cheeks swelled up. This is already considered light. Yu Xiao Shenzi's tone was indifferent, as if it was a trivial matter. You hit me for this trash. Hisa Wujos pointed at Dustless, his hands trembling. It was clear how big of a blow this matter was to him. Are you scolding me? Wu Chen opened his mouth abruptly. His calm demeanor had vanished. His tone was cold, and no one could hear any emotion from it. Shit! Hearing Wu Chen speak, Yu Xiao Shenzi's heart cried out in alarm. This sentence was said very lightly, but it was like a heavy blow to him, making him unable to breathe. Yu Shenzi felt as if there was a mountain on her back. It was difficult to breathe. Yes, I am scolding you. What do you want to do to me? Gojo was not someone to be trifled with. He looked at Dustless with his nose in the air. Brat, how old are you? Dustless was not angry. Instead, he asked calmly, didn't your family tell you to be humble when you see people older than you? No matter what, at least you can't scold people. It's none of your business. Sujio Wuju looked at Wu Qin with disdain. He looked like an idiot. Indeed, it was none of my business before. But now, you have hurt me. Dustless said indifferently. Young people are young and frivolous. It's okay to be a little arrogant. But there is a limit to everything. It's not good if you exceed it. Not good. Hearing this, Gojo almost laughed out loud. You are really arrogant. Now that you are hiding behind others, you still dare to scold me. Do you want to see my strength? Dustless asked. Such a simple question caused Yu Shenzi's expression to change. She quickly explained. Sir, he is just a kid. He doesn't understand, Shio. However, not waiting for Yu Shenzi to finish talking nonsense, Dustless turned into a gust of black wind and disappeared. Not good. Yu Shenzi quickly pulled out her sword and stood behind Gojo. You idiot. Did you forget the important task that the king gave you? Even if we can't rope him in, we can't offend him no matter what. Who cares about him? Hizana Wuju snorted, but he was obviously not confident because he didn't notice how Wuchen disappeared. He just evaporated and disappeared. Bang! Gojo suddenly felt a pain in his head. He looked up and saw Dustless stepping on his head. His expression was cold, and his eyes were like that of a god looking down on an ant. Who allowed you to stand and look at me? Dustless said indifferently as he exerted force on his feet. Caw. Su Kujio, who was still standing, could not withstand the enormous force. He immediately bent down, sweating profusely. His face was about to touch the ground, and his head was about to explode. Sir, you are still being merciful. You know that he is just a kid. Yu Shenzi quickly pleaded. She was cursing Gojo in her heart. I have already given him a chance to repent, but he did not cherish it. Dustless said slowly. His tone was no longer as casual as before. However, this was the worst. It also meant that he was serious. In the end, he is still a kid. He is only 13 years old. What does a kid like him know? Please give the King of Green some face. Yu Shenzi forced a smile. When she mentioned the King of Green, she purposely emphasized the word King of Green. Are you threatening me? Dustless smiled. His smile was so bright, but for some reason, Yu Shenzi's body turned cold. She was sweating profusely on such a hot day. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2334. Yu Shenzi met Dustless's gaze and found that his previously calm eyes had changed in an instant. They were as deep as a bottomless black hole, ready to devour her if she wasn't careful. She hurriedly averted her gaze. Bastard. At the same time, Haruna Gojio's face was also trampled into the ground by Dustless. He was in a very sorry state. His entire face was buried in the ground, with cracks appearing and mixed with blood. His face was completely worn out. You still don't realize the difference between us now. Dustless shook his head and sighed. Young people nowadays are so impetuous, starting a fight at the slightest disagreement. Can't they learn from the Golden King? That old man's ability to read people's expressions is clear and logical, and he's very respectful to me. My lord, Yu Shenxi's manner of address had changed. She said respectfully, "My lord, you're a great person who doesn't hold a grudge against a lowly person. In any case, you're still an existence comparable to a king. Why lower yourself to the level of a child who hasn't even grown hair yet?" "You're right, but I can't just stand by and watch someone provoke me, can I?" Dustless calmly retorted. "And you don't need to flatter me. It's impossible to restrain me with ethics and morals. Sometimes, I just like to bully the weak. Can't I do that? To put it more bluntly, I like to be shameless. What do you think?" Yu Shenxi's lips trembled, and she couldn't think of a reply. Dustless's words were too bold. "Oh, I'll kill you, I'll definitely kill you." Fujio Hizuna roared crazily under Dustless's foot. He wanted nothing more than to tear Dustless to shreds to vent his anger. This was the first time in his life that he had experienced such humiliation. His self-esteem was shattered into countless pieces. "Even now, you still want to kill me? Don't you know the difference between us?" Dustless was speechless. Didn't this kid know that there were some people he couldn't afford to offend? "I'll let you catch your breath first. Don't suffocate to death." Suddenly, Wuchen loosened his right foot. Sensing that the mountain above his head had disappeared, Hizuna Gojio quickly pulled his head out from the ground and panted. Needless to say, he felt really uncomfortable holding his breath. He felt like he was suffocating. TSK. How scary. Wuchen mischievously took a step back and clicked his tongue in fear. He raised his head and saw that Wujo's Hisashi's face was covered in blood. The skin on his face had disappeared and there was blood everywhere. "But didn't I say it before? Who allowed you to stand up?" Immediately after, Wuchen shouted and his body turned into light. A large amount of light gathered on top of Wuju Kuna's head, so bright that he couldn't open his eyes. "Hurry up and leave. Suzhou is there." Realizing that something was wrong, he quickly shouted. Su Kujio was dumbfounded. He didn't know what was going on, but he still left obediently. However, it was too late. He was too slow. "Brat, is your speed faster than light?" Boom boom boom. The unparalleled golden light smashed down heavily, causing Hizuna Gojio's entire body to explode. A huge ball of fire surged out, and the scorching temperature could even melt steel. Damn it, a moment later, Hisa Gojio lay in the charred pit in a sorry state. His face was unrecognizable, and his whole body was burned. He only had one breath left to breathe. "You!" Seeing this, Yu Shenxi was enraged. She raised the katana in her hand and was about to attack Dustless when her phone rang. TSK. Why do you have to do this? You could have left safely. Now that you've fallen to such a state, you can only blame yourself, little brat. Wuchen didn't show any mercy. He continued to step on Su Kuna's head like a giant mountain. Su Kuna couldn't escape from the pressure. "Kill me if you have the guts." Hizuna Gojio was still stubborn. His eyes were scarlet, and blood was flowing out of his face. It was a horrifying scene. "Shut up, idiot." At this moment, Yu Shenxi walked over with a black face. She suddenly threw the phone to Hizuna Gojio. "It's a call from that person. Explain it yourself." "That person?" Dustless was stunned. If he guessed correctly, it was the mysterious Green King, by Shui Lu. Hizuna Gojio's face changed slightly. He used his last bit of strength to pick up the phone and put it to his ear. The Green King, by Shuelio's call came through. I know." After a few seconds, Hizuna Gojio said unwillingly. The final struggle in his eyes disappeared. That, Hizunagojo looked at Dustless and said with an ugly expression, "My lord, I was blind. I won't dare to offend you again. Please forgive me. The Green King's orders are still useful." Dustless retracted his right foot and looked at Yushao Shensi indifferently. He then put his hands in his pockets and left. "Take your people and scram. If you dare to cause trouble here again, the Green Clan won't be spared." It was a simple sentence, but it was filled with killing intent. Yushao Shensi's neck shrunk. It was ridiculous, but because of Dustless's words, he felt great fear. He said with a trembling voice, "Sorry for disturbing you. Goodbye." Yushao Shensi hugged Hizunagojo and left in a hurry. Hizunagojo was already crippled. If it wasn't for Dustless showing mercy, he would have been burnt to a crisp. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:35. This is so boring. Out of the corner of his eyes, he glanced back a few times without leaving a trace. Seeing that the two of them had left tactfully, Wu-Chen scolded them for being brainless. They were only satisfied after being humiliated and beaten up. Wasn't their brains flooded with water? Damn it. Why did the king ask me to apologize to that guy? I'm going to tear him apart. Hizunagojo roared as he distanced himself from Dustless. Idiot. Yushao Shensi sneered, "Brat, let alone you, even I would be killed in an instant if I met him. Do you know why he didn't kill us?" "Why?" Hizunagojo asked in confusion. He did not believe Yushao Shensi's words at all. If Dustless was so strong, why didn't he kill him? Maybe he's too chatty. Yushao Shensi said with a hint of self-mockery. Too bored. Hearing this reply, Hisashi Gojo was dumbfounded. Too boring. What does it have to do with us? Idiot. Yushao Shenko looked at Gojo Hisashi's confused face and said, "Maybe he's bored and needs two clowns to perform to pass the time." Hizunagojo was speechless. Who were those two people just now? As soon as he stepped into the villa, Kat and Anna came up to him nervously. They were not good at fighting and had been hiding. This way, Dustless would not have any worries. They're just the Green King's subordinates. Dustless replied casually. As for those two, they're just mice who overestimate themselves. There's nothing to be afraid of. Just do what you're supposed to do. Everything will be fine as usual. Mice? That's the king's ally. Hearing this, Tsinming, Anna and the cat looked at Dustless in confusion. Even such an expert was a rat. In particular, Anna could see clearly that even someone like Hata Miwa was not a match for the child, Kojio. That Yushao Shensi was even more unfathomable, but Dustless called her a little mouse. This was too arrogant. No wonder those two were so angry just now. Speaking of which, who was it that attacked the fierce Golden King? Kat blinked her beautiful eyes, unable to figure it out. Hearing this, Tsinming Anna also shook her head. She didn't care about this question. Her beautiful eyes were incomparably blank. Zhou Fangzuan was already dead. Where should he go in the future? It doesn't matter who attacked us, Dustless replied nonchalantly. As long as they don't come looking for trouble with us, that's enough. That's true. Kat nodded. No matter who attacked the Golden King, as long as they did not cause trouble for them and did not disturb their peaceful lives, everything else was trivial. No matter who attacked the Golden King, it could be for the Drexton stone plate. Dustless sat comfortably on the sofa and said calmly, "The temptation of that thing is too great. No one can let go of it and maintain a calm heart. After all, it is the source of power for all the kings and outsiders. Who would be curious about such a thing? Why aren't you interested? Ming Anna looked at Dustless with a suspicious look. Me? Hearing this, Dustless just smiled casually and said indifferently, "Sorry, I'm really sorry. I have too many treasures, and I don't have a place to put that broken plate." Pft. Pft. The cat and Ming Anna both spat. Fortunately, Dustless was a shining person, otherwise he would have become a person of saliva. A broken plate. You'd better not say such things in the future. Otherwise, people will definitely think you're an idiot. Ming Anna said snappily. That is the source of the king's power. You said it was a broken plate. Oh my god, this is the truth, okay? Dustless said seriously. What was there to care about a broken stone plate? Even the naive cat was provoked. The thing that everyone was fighting over was considered a piece of junk by Dustless, as if it was worthless trash. However, if it's possible, I hope Bai Shuailu can get the Drexton stone plate. At least it's better than the Silver King, Adolf K. Weitzman. Dustless narrowed his eyes with a different meaning. Why? Both of them asked at the same time with a strange expression. Dustless had beaten up the Green King's men before. Some things can't be explained clearly. Dustless said slowly, in short, if I have no choice, I will snatch the Drexton stone plate. If that thing is destroyed, you will also be affected. The cat was an outsider, and Ming Anna was later the Red King. Why? The cat asked in confusion. You really don't know anything. Dustless ridiculed, including your power. It comes from the Drexton stone plate. If that thing disappears, do you think your power will still exist? To be honest, I am a little scared. The cat liked to run around naked. If her power disappeared and she ran around naked, what would happen if someone saw her? But what does it have to do with me? Ming Anna was at a loss with endless confusion. Buddha said it can't be said. Dustless said mysteriously and simply closed his eyes. Some things couldn't be explained clearly because after the Red King, Zhou Fangzuan, died, Ming Anna became the new Red King. However, Ming Anna wouldn't believe it even if he told her now. She might think that Dustless was talking crazy. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2336. Trying to be mysterious. The two women snorted coldly at Dustless, who was trying to keep them in suspense, and left at the same time. The cat went to eat her snacks, and Anna probably went back to her room to sleep. Dustless just silently turned on the TV and searched for the information he wanted. After a while, the TV reported the news that Dustless wanted. The Japanese government has issued a wanted notice to the entire country. If you find traces of the King of Blue and the Ancestral Statue Rights Department, you will be rewarded 100 million yen if you report to the relevant departments, and the woman on the TV said simply that the Ancestral Statue Rights Department was wanted. As for the specific reason, she didn't mention it, but that was enough. Wanted Ancestral Statue Rights Department? Dustless fell silent, his eyes shining. He secretly guessed, could it be that the Drexton stone plate was stolen by that guy? I wonder how that old man Golden King is doing. Even if he's not dead, he's probably not feeling well. He's almost 100 years old, and his life force is completely exhausted. Wu Qin sat on the sofa alone and looked up at the exquisite ceiling. A slight arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. That guy from the Ancestral Statue Rights Department will come looking for trouble with me soon. Of course, to be precise, he wasn't looking for trouble with Dustless, but with Anna. Zhou Fangzuan killed Danji Mashiri, and the Ancestral Statue Rights Department wanted to kill Anna to avenge. Dustless was ordered by Zhou Fangzuan to protect her before he died. Let's wait quietly. Time passed by, and Dustless calmly closed his eyes. As long as the Ancestral Statue Rights Department came, he decided to take the Drexten stone plate. It wasn't that Dustless coveted this thing, but the cat was an outsider, and St. Anna was a royalty. If this thing was destroyed, they would lose their power. Ancestral Statue Rights Department, give up. At the same time, a fierce battle was going on in another direction, and the team was very strange. The Silver King Adolf K. Weitzman was leading his allies to besiege the Ancestral Statue Rights Department. You want me to give up? With just the two of you? Hearing this, a smile appeared in the eyes of the Ancestral Statue Ritual Master. Of course, it was completely mocking. He felt that the Silver King was joking. You. Don't be so arrogant. Nightblade God Galang and Silver King both frowned. This guy had become a stray dog, yet he was still so arrogant. So what if he's arrogant? The Ancestral Statue Rights deity laughed out loud. His laughter was wild and unrestrained. In the air, the sword of Damocles flashed. Its dazzling light dazzled everyone. It exuded an invincible aura. Silver King, although you are the oldest king, your combat power is just average. But this was the truth. Adolf K. Weitzman really wasn't that good at fighting. Phew. I'm not here to argue with you. Taking a deep breath of the cold air, the Silver King's throbbing heart finally calmed down. Ancestral Right Division, hand over the Drexten stone plate. That thing is useless to you. If it falls into the wrong hands, the consequences are not something you or I can bear. It has nothing to do with me. The Ancestral Statue Rights deity's reply was flat, and he rejected decisively. If that's the case, the Silver King also understood that the negotiation had failed. In the air above his head, a silver light shrouded the earth, and a huge sword was clearly visible. It was the Silver King's sword of Damocles. Since the negotiation had failed, then they could only rely on strength to solve the problem. Hold on. At this moment, a sudden disruptor intervened, and this calm voice made everyone frown. It was as if a big brother was giving an order to his little brother, and it was not to be disobeyed. It's you. The few of them followed the source of the voice, and a faint smile appeared on their faces. Whether it was the Ancestral Statue Rights deity, Silver King, or Nightblade God Galang, their expressions froze and changed rapidly, like a black pot that hadn't been washed for thousands of years. This person who came with ill intentions was naturally dustless. What's with your expressions? You make me look like a jinx, changing your expressions when you see me. Dustless complained in dissatisfaction, because the Silver King and the Ancestral Statue Rights deity's faces were full of bad luck, as if they had stepped on dog poop. The three of them looked at each other, and they could see the fear in each other's eyes. Dustless was not just unlucky, he was obviously possessed by the god of misfortune. He did not look at the almanac before leaving the house. May I know the purpose of your visit? Outside the Silver King, Adolf K. Weitzman asked solemnly. At this moment, he was still occupying the body of Izona society. Although he was young, he was actually an old monster who was close to 100 years old. Do you even need to ask? Dustless glanced at outside the Silver King, then looked at him deeply and said, or are you pretending to be ignorant? You can fight for the Drexten stone plate, but can't I join in the fun? As expected. The three of them had a slight change in expression. Even though they had already made up their minds, when they heard Dustless's purpose of visit, their hearts fell to the bottom. In terms of strength, there was no doubt that the strongest person had appeared, and the others had to stand aside. After all, even the Golden King did not dare to challenge Dustless, let alone the others. Want the Drexten stone plate? Don't even think about it. The Ancestral Statue Rights deity snorted, looked at Dustless eerily, and threatened, you give me Siming Anna, and I can give you that thing. In the future, we won't owe each other anything. How about this deal? The ancestral statue rights deity was very confident that Dustless would agree to it 100%. Make a deal with me. Who do you think you are? Who would have thought that Dustless's words shattered the ancestral statue rights deity's fantasy, and his words were full of disdain and contempt. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.